everybody. We're back on Facebook Live this morning. I am Carrie with the JoyRide Show, and this beautiful person is...
I'm Tiffany with the JoyRide Show. Where else would I be? This is the place to be.
It is the place to be.
On a Tuesday morning, December 12th. Happy Hanukkah.
Oh, yeah. Happy Hanukkah.
Happy holidays, happy Christmas, happy Kwanzaa, whatever you guys are into celebrating.
Oh, happy day. How about just a happy day?
Happy day, yes.
I love that. Well, okay, so this morning we woke up, and for some reason we were thinking that we didn't really have a show planned. We did, sort of, but it was, anyway, things are always moving, and it's the holidays, and things don't always come out the way we thought they would. And so we just called our metaphysical mama, Miss Nora Yolles Young, who is here with us on the phone. And
we're going to have a tea time.
We're going to have a tea time, but we started talking about everything happening right now, and this is going to be a fun show. We want to cover kids and how they're coming in differently. They're just coming in, I think, wired for sound. And we want to talk about what's going on with ascension and upgrades. And Nora, she does these incredible past lives and life between lives, and so kind of what she's getting from the other side, and just a lot of stuff. So buckle up, sit back and
relax and enjoy. So welcome to Nora. We can see you on Skype, and later when we post on our YouTube page, we have all these great shows on our YouTube page. We really want to help promote that. All of our, and Nora has been on our show maybe 5 or 6 times already. And we've talked all about your work as a past life regressionist and life between life regressionist. So you are able to take people back. You're a certified hypnotherapist. Take people back under regression to help heal their stuff. Past life, this life, off planet, wherever you go, it's all relevant. Correct?
Yes, ma'am. That's it. Hi, everybody. Sorry, I'm like confused with what I'm watching. I'm watching Facebook Live and you. Okay. Hello, my sisters, my metaphysical moms.
Long time no see. You were literally here in Houston this weekend with us, and now you've gone back to your home there on the East Coast.
You know,
yes,
yeah, I was lucky enough that Nora got to spend the night with me. We had slumber parties.
That's so fun.
We had so much fun. It is so much fun hanging out with Carrie and her family. And, you know, if anybody out there is hearing this and having an experience of scrambled brain or like things feel crazy overwhelmed.
Do what now?
That you're talking to the right gals, because I completely missed my flight on Sunday. Say what?
Not me. I'm not scrambled. I am totally anchored, and I am
grounded,
so
centered, on point at all times. I don't know what you're talking about, but let's go with it.
Well, if anybody has seen my most recent show, I had an astrologer, Sharita Starr. She's amazing, talking about Mercury retrograde, and we're totally in the midst of that. And so it's time for people to just give themselves a little bit of a break. When I showed up at the airport an hour late, I was like, yeah, okay, what am I going to do? And there's a lot of that kind of stuff going on. And so if you're feeling like the energies have gotten you a little funky, or if you're noticing politically stuff going on, you're noticing shift and change in your personal lives, it's all happening right now. And so the term buckling your seatbelt is absolutely appropriate for what's going on. And we're going to, as I understand, we're going to drill down a little bit more in the show. But that's sort of the baseline, is like this ascension, like things are moving. It is on right now, full frontal.
Full front. Oh, that's a whole other topic.
The full Monty, yeah. And we're right in the middle of it, living with it. And so we're all metaphysical moms, and we all have families and kids, and especially this big holiday season, we wanted to talk about how, as moms, moving through these changing times with kids, how we can keep ourselves kind of, without getting too far out in the weeds, and how to respond to our kids when they're having their own symptoms, their own stuff that they've got going on. How do we do that? How do we help each other collectively move through this with as much joy as possible?
I can answer that question.
Okay.
have Nora come and stay at your house. So do you want to just dive in? I would love to share what happened and how this really, how having an extra set of hands and having a different approach that worked. Whoa! So I have one of my sons he's just brilliant and he's wired like I am. So I see his stuff. He can't see structure. And he is struggling in 6th grade. I mean, he's doing well, I think, kind of. I mean, he's doing well, but the anxiety around dyslexia and ADD and all this stuff and all these moving parts, now he's having to go to all these different classes. It's really getting to him, and his anxiety is off the chart to the point that he puked for 3 days. And first, I thought it was, of course, a virus and well, okay, so he learned that when he could burp his ABCs that he would throw up, and so he's kind of used that. And but it didn't look, so back to this week, so it didn't look like it. I mean, he wasn't, I know when I've been sick, I'm on the floor and just trying to get comfortable in my skin, he would throw up and then he was fine. And so I kept him home, and I kept him home the next day, and he did a lot of work, and he caught up on his schoolwork, and I made him go to school to turn all this stuff in. They called me and said, oh, by the way, he's sick. Could you come and pick up your child? I kind of got the stink eye from the nurse. Like I was sending a sick kid to school. And we're getting ready to do, you know, all the testing and what's wrong because it's not looking, I don't know, it just doesn't look like anything I've seen. And he ends up, he comes home and we had this big long talk. And I mean, it was cathartic. I'm crying. He's crying because this structure just doesn't fit him, and it is just it's so I mean he's in a wonderful school, but it's a very large school, and it just seems like the walls sort of push in on him. And if you watch him when you start talking about school, he kind of does this, you know, he just kind of checks out.
The checkout.
Well, and you said you brought him some homework, and every time you'd hand him homework, he would throw up.
Yeah, he'd throw up. It's like homework.
The
homework
anxiety.
it's not food. Exactly. And so we ended up, after this sort of time he and I had talking about, you know, different options and that I understand, and because we keep, of course, trying to cram him into this one structure, and we know that this will work, and it doesn't for him. And so Nora came in and had a talk with him, and I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, well, I'll get into that. I would like to say that I'm sure your listeners are aware that there are a lot of kids that are presenting these kinds of symptoms, and really, there is a new generation of wiring happening, and I would even go so far as to say that the human mind, the human consciousness, not only is evolving in our day-to-day because of the energies that are happening, our physiology, our anatomy is reflecting that as well. I, too, have a child that is wired differently, my son. And some of these techniques that I use were developed out of desperation because he was born totally uncomfortable in his skin, and he's got midline stuff. And so we've done a whole thing, too. But with your son, and I don't know if we're naming names.
No, it's fine. He's fine with it.
Yeah. So what's cool about Jack is he's so smart. He's just so tapped in. And I think I can feel how feeling he is. Mm-hmm. And so this is something that you can all try with your kids. And this is also not just for kids. This is for grown-ups, too. And it's a technique where you're tuning in to the inside, and you're noticing where the discomfort in your body is. And so when you have a kid that's having a moment, he's having kind of like a meltdown moment or a catastrophic, like something's not working for me and I don't know what it is, have them stop, take a deep breath if they can. They may be unable to like even pause. See if they can tune in to their body enough to find out where in their body the location of that discomfort is. Kids will often say their head. They'll often say their tummy. And so Jack was in the midst of just feeling really frustrated and stressed out, and he figured out that his tummy was not feeling well. And so what you can do to build information is, okay, so it's in the tummy. If you can find a shape, what is the shape of that discomfort? How far does it extend? Is it staying within the confines of your tummy, or is it extending outward? And so kids can usually get a sense using their imagination to help embellish it. That's perfectly fine. That shape will be something that they'll be able to tell you. And then you'll tell them to, okay, now that it's that shape, is there a color that you can pick up on? So Jack had this brown, green, muddy color, right? And so when you know that, I mean, there's an instant sense of like brown, muddy color that doesn't feel clear, it doesn't feel bright. And many of us know that that's the location of the solar plexus, which is a yellow vibrational energy. And so you ask them, okay, what does that part need? What does that aspect of your body need? If they don't know, that's perfectly fine, but they may. The kids may know, and so maybe it needs a drink of water. Maybe it needs some rest or some love. The easiest way to give that part of you attention is to ask it what color from the rainbow spectrum that it's wanting or needing. And Jack knew instantaneously what color it needed, and it was green. And green is the color of healing. So perfect. And what range of color? I mean, there's a lot of green. So there's a light green. Is it a neon green? His was that basic Kelly green. That was perfect. And so then when they get that color, okay, have that color interact with that location. It's an intelligent thing. This color has consciousness. That brown color has consciousness. The idea is that all aspects of you are working together in communication to create wellness, that there's no part of you that wants dis-ease or imbalance. So you watch in your mind's eye, and he instantaneously felt better. And so when you get the hang of it, these kinds of things can happen very, very quickly. You can do it with yourself. Oh, I got a headache. Okay, what color is it? What shape is it? What color does it need? Or do I need water? Just starting to listen to those inner cues. And the earlier you start with your kids, the more awareness they start to acclimate to. And so they can start doing, this stuff really quickly for themselves.
That's perfect.
He didn't throw up again.
After he greened himself.
There was one other time that he was starting to feel a little wonky, and I think you asked him again, and he... Okay, yeah, it's brown. The brown's back, and he sort of played with it, and it was. I think so much of it too is acknowledging it, because I know I tend to go to that place of what did I do wrong, what am I not doing, which just really exacerbates the issue, right?
Totally.
So if you can say, okay, let's contain this, let's put a lid on it, and let's see if we can figure out where this anxiety is coming from, and let's put it in a box, and that's what you're saying, and that's what he did, and it really did help that.
Well, and you gave him the tools to do it himself.
Yeah,
which is I think is huge. Instead of
empowered,
taking a pill or having somebody else heal you. But I did want to mention you are a healer. EssentialHealing101.com. We forgot to mention your website for anybody who wants to look up Miss Nora. You do a lot of things. Just your hypnotherapist hat is one, but I've done color balancing and sound balancing and chakra healing with you. You've got lots of hats.
She does have lots of hats.
EssentialHealing101.com. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for that shout out. So I wanted to add, when you're teaching your kids how to advocate for themselves and communicate, you're setting them up for a whole lifetime of really being an advocate for themselves, but also leadership, starting to tune into the sensitivity that we know they're already presenting in their lives. Like, sensitivity is a good thing, people. It's just, how do we utilize it to help us?
Right.
And what is the downfall of this? Or not the downfall, but the downside of that is there are none. It's free. It's preventive. You don't have to take them into the clinic. You don't have to go to the doctor. You can just try this out. You can consider these kinds of measures as preemptive.
Yeah, because often when you address the emotional issue before it escalates and becomes this chronic habit, and you get dependent on medications to kind of ease the symptoms, you can stop something from manifesting. You can stop a physical thing from manifesting, tackling. That's right in line with all the tapping work that I do. I love it.
That's true. That's
perfect.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I love what you're talking about, fostering their own understanding of their energy.
in
I
their body.
love that you talk about that, because I just got a call from a friend of mine who's retired now, and he was telling me stories after listening to one of our shows that he used to have all these intuitive hits and could see and feel things, and because of the reaction of the parents being scared of it, feeling like it was not, you know, of the light, that it got shut down really quickly.
He could see things.
Yeah, he could see things, and I love that he was able to share the
You
stories.
saw dead people?
He saw dead people, but just the intuition of knowing things. But because he knew them and had no physical explanation for it, it got a very strong reaction from the very religious family members, and he quickly shut that part of him down. So I love that we're in all these different aspects teaching our kids and ourselves, reminding ourselves through our kids to stay in touch with that, reconnect with it, and you're so much more powerful than you know.
Well,
Absolutely. Well, and there are things, and I want to just quickly say too that like this is still happening. So if you're watching this and this is resonating with you, it's time to just come out of the closet, people. You know, just come out of the closet with your metaphysical abilities. And if you're not getting the support you need at home, go online, contact me, contact the Metaphysical
Join
Moms
us.
on JoyRide. Join us, because
Yeah.
that time is old school now. We are ushering in a whole new time where your gifts are greatly needed on the planet. Take a look around, right?
Right.
And need everybody to start plugging into all of their powerful attributes. These are gifts, people. This is not a curse. So that is part of my work too, is just helping people understand that what is happening is they're not going crazy. I mean, and I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist. I'm not a medical professional, but I will say that you don't have to instantly go to fear and say, I'm nuts. Or if people are telling you you're nuts, really start to use your discernment to check in. Am I nuts, or am I actually displaying a gift that could be really beneficial to me and others?
I agree with that. And there is something, I think, so you made me this weekend, I love your word, drill down on what it is I do, or I don't know what I do. I really don't know what I do, but it is, but I do know what brings me
It's good
joy.
stuff.
I love you. No, it brings me
You
joy.
know what you
Well,
do. We've
it's such
had
a-
this conversation, and we keep reminding her, look at all the amazing things you do.
Thank you for that. And I'm really not digging. It is, but I don't see it. I mean, like, and I don't, and when I say that,
You're
I mean,
drilling.
But I think-
it is like, it's not a defining thing. You know, it's not, oh, I'm a Reiki practitioner. I'm live between lives. I do EFT. You know, it's like, I don't do, you can't label what I do and what I don't do it. I don't know. And
You
it's just
are
a day
it,
to day.
though. But I think because you're in it and you know it, it's so you don't even see what you do or how you do it. I think a lot of people, you take your biggest gift and you're like, dismiss it because it's easy. Like, how is that important?
Thank you. But okay, so where I really wanted to go with that is something that you had said to me. Shit, where did it go?
You were talking about drilling down.
Thank you. Well, is one of my greatest pleasures and what just brings me so much light is the idea that people find who they are and what their gift is and how to live it and how to let go of all of these things of what perfect is. I talked to someone I love very, very much yesterday, and we were talking about that. It's like this idea of being perfect and this idea of being, things are supposed to look a certain way. That word supposed to or should, it's got to go, because as soon as you realize who you really are and you stop caring what anyone else thinks. I mean, I'm not talking about like, ramming a car, but I'm talking about just being who you are.
It's not a loss of morality to do that. It's not right.
And so then you really truly become your authentic self and why you came here. And you get to start really doing what makes you bigger and lighter and just makes you love more. And anyway, so I think that is my biggest pleasure, is to help people. And it's what you're saying too, is to help people find out who they really are.
And you do that in everyday conversations with the waiter at the restaurant or with the CEO at the gala that you go to with your husband. You connect with people on that level, and it's not a job title, but that's what you do.
Well, thank you for that. It's
I've
just
seen her do
fun.
it so many times. In fact, her kids are like, Mom, don't talk to anybody.
Anybody.
Go into the store, don't talk to anybody. But she will just pull this beauty out of them, and they just leave like, oh, I'm the most important person in the world, because she just loved me with her heart.
Thank you.
It's so true. Well, it's so true. But the thing that I think that you're talking about is a very real thing. I think if you don't have that, your special sauce does not fit in a particular package that society deems worthy.
Money making.
You know, you're whatever, successful. But there's a part of you that knows that, damn it, I am doing something really amazing, and I just can't put my finger on it. Well, also, I would encourage you to go see a hypnotherapist and have some of the spiritual hypnotherapy modalities that are out there. I do past life regression and life between lives, but there are other modalities out there. So I encourage you to just tune in and figure out what might be resonant for you. But Carrie, in your LBL, it was like, I mean, what this woman was doing on an energetic level is just mind-blowing, and it's like calibrating of energetic grids on the planet, and just like, whoa. And so what's fun too is to see sort of like the broader spirit self and what that capability is, and then also sort of translate it into this sort of 3D shifting time. It's like, oh, so I'm an energy master over here, and here I'm still that too, but I also have this human reality that I'm contained within and confined within to a degree by choice. And what is that? How am I doing that? And so it's true. Like, both of you guys, that's why the balance between the two of you is so profound, because Carrie has that piece that we're talking about, and like the energy streamers, and then Tiffany is just like this anchor and like Mother Teresa, Mother Mary energy that is just like that is just like this all-encompassing unconditional love. You're like a giant piece of rose quartz.
Which I found under a tree, by the way.
Thank you. My guides had told me I was a reed in the stream once. I was like, I don't want to be a reed. I want to be a fish. And they're like, no, you're a reed in the stream. You're the. And I'm like, I don't want to be that. So, well, thank you.
No. It is so. I would like to segue into. So that was part of mine, is that I realized that my brain is wired really differently, and it's not a chemical thing. And this is what I told myself. It's a wiring. And you kept saying, chemical? Nope, it's a wiring. And I think that is what's happened with a bunch of different children here also, is that they're wired so completely. I don't know if it's different. I don't know if there are a lot more of them coming in. I don't know what's behind it. Maybe
we're noticing them more. Maybe we're noticing them more. I mean, my educational background is anthropology and evolutionary theory. And so the idea of what patterns are happening in humanity, I mean, we're changing rapidly. I don't need to have proof anymore. I used to come from that paradigm. Now I just sort of feel into it and think, yeah, does this resonate with me? I think we are evolving. And if, I mean, look at where telecommunications have come. We went from, the hook, phone, the wall, and the telecommunication lines, and now it's fiber optic cable and
wireless.
What to call it? Satellite.
Yeah.
Satellite. In Hawaii, they call it. In Hawaii, they call that the coconut wireless. But we're getting to the point where our wiring is enabling us to pick up information. And, just to sort of go over some of the things that some people may not know, we can receive images. Some of you may be getting images. Some of you may be hearing auditory messages. You may hear sound. I was about to say you may hear smells. No. You may hear sounds from a loved one, sorry.
Your energy is
session.
That's funny.
Okay, well, let's back up and tell that. Tell that story. Because you are so articulate and well-spoken and on point, and we can tell that you had, when you came to Houston this weekend, you had a Marconics energy healing, which is a recalibration with Wendy Hutchinson. We've done several shows with, and that's another beautiful energy modality. And since you had you were like, I've just been feeling kind of a little bit, you got to recalibrate. So
Her words are different.
The wrong words are literally coming out of my mouth. And so if I could summarize what I feel like Marconics is, it's spiritual alchemy, and it's so deep that I'm just like scrambled. I mean, late for my flight, wrong words coming out, the just doing things that I normally like usually I'm kind of big picture anyway, not detail, but like this is a whole nother level. And I'm told that it'll settle in, but if I sound like absolutely like craziness is coming out of my mouth, I apologize. But this
and
is
it's
part
Mercury
of also
retrograde.
and it's fun because I know that it's part of this human biology that we're participating in, that we're recalibrating to such a huge degree that it's like, you know, my wires are being rerouted right now. So that's, you know, part. I totally lost track, Terry. I'm sorry.
Well, we were talking about the different senses. We were talking about smelling, smells, people hearing. You know,
Smelling
you get your
words.
information differently, and that the
Hearing colors.
hearing
Hearing
colors,
colors, smelling words.
smelling words. Hey, you can do that. You can smell a word.
You can.
Certainly can. Well, at least so our senses are being heightened. You wanted to say something. Say
Eyebrows
it.
up.
What?
No, I'm trying to get my bags to not show because I've been waking up at like 5-ish, and so when I don't sleep, I have bags, and I notice in my car if I do that, they go away, and it's a lot cheaper than having them removed. So I'm trying to sit like this.
She's trying to get the light under her eyes.
No, I'm sorry. I'm so vain. So okay.
You're so.
I know. I just heard
Okay,
that too.
So we're coming into things, and you may be noticing these things, and you're thinking, well, I must be schizophrenic, or you know, there's no way I could be smelling type. But lo and behold, these things are starting to communicate, and you are starting to receive these messages, and we also get those strings of numbers if that resonates with you. My husband likes to get engine cubic measurements for engines. He always sees that on digital clocks. That delights him. So signs. Pay attention to your signs.
What does that even mean? Hold on. Scott gets the what?
Gets
Engines?
engine measurements in numbers.
So I don't know. So I'm such a goofball when it comes to I don't know engines, but like dudes who know about engines will get this. And please write in and say what you think about it. But like a Mustang V8 4
cylinder
or something.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
But he'll get there
450,
very
451,
specific, and
whatever it
people,
takes.
yeah, exactly. They'll know, but it's because that spirit
That's what they're talking to
communicating
him.
directly with them. It means nothing to me, but he'll be like, "Hey, it's 6:37 on the clock." And I'm like, cool.
All right, man.
Well, speaking of writing in, we are Facebook Live today, so I want to say a quick shout out to all the folks who are. We've got lots of people writing in. I want to say hi to a few folks, and if you have questions about your ascension symbol symptoms, or things about your children, or past life regressions, if you guys have questions, tune in and drop us a line. I'm going to buzz through a few of these real quick and say hello to our friends that are joining us. Terry, Margaret, Joanne, Michelle. Oh, Michelle asked for your website. I'm glad we shouted that out, essentialhealing101.com. Kaleda. Hi, guys.
Kalida.
Kalida. I keep saying that wrong.
Hi, Kalita.
Terry is asking about, he did a regression, and it seemed really real, but also dreamlike, and I struggle with the question, did I make it up? I'm sure that's something you get asked often. When people are under regression, if it's made up or if it's... Can you speak to that?
Sure. Well, what I tell my clients is the imagination is a very powerful tool, and we want to utilize it in hypnosis because it really activates the gateway between the conscious and the unconscious mind. Now, there are going to be hypnotherapists that say, oh, well, you have to have very specific dates and details. I'm not a stickler for that. If they come through, cool. If not, it's really more about what is the message that's coming forward. So you can look at it, if you think it's dreamlike, I mean, think about the prophetic dreams that we have. Dreams tell us a lot. And I'm not saying they're the same thing, but if it feels uncomfortable for you to call that an absolute truth, to you, you can also just look at it in terms of symbology, because our brains work in terms of symbol. And so the message is coming through that you need, and that is the most important point. And it's really, and what I'm seeing in my sessions, and we talked about this a little bit before we got on the show, is that people are reconciling a lot of their darker stuff, darker lifetimes. And I think that that's a powerful thing to explore, because we along with that perfectionism, what?
Digging up bones. I keep hearing, like, I don't know if it's Eric, somebody keeps like singing in my ear. So you say that, so like you'll say things and all of a sudden I'll hear a tune that goes to it. That one was Digging Up Bones. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Okay, well, we'll talk about digging up bones. Okay. So what I would, regarding our darker side, so I had a lifetime where I recalled being a slave trader. That wasn't something I was proud of, but I had full recollection of the fact that I was an a-hole, like I was not a nice person. And I was shot in the back of the head, and I was fully present and aware that that took place. When we reconcile our darker lives, we are able to open up our compassion for all sides of the spectrum, because you've been it all. Maybe we're choosing the light full on in this life, but in the past lives, getting experience in the darker aspects of ourselves is something that you actually wanted to do, to have experience. And I can say more about that, but that's just sort of basically, like, glean what you can and try to be out of judgment. There's nothing, like, I have clients who are like, I hated myself. I was such a jerk. Like, I hated the way I looked. I was ugly. I was stupid. What a wasted life. And it's like, not at all. Not at all. Like, you had an opportunity to have that experience, and that we are just so life-centric. This life is like the only one, and of course we're conscious of it now, but thousands of lives have brought you to the one that you're in now, and it feeds it and nourishes it. So honoring your experience as a soul is a freeing experience. It's very healing.
Question.
I love that.
I do love that too. It is. Okay, so question, this is a little off topic, but not really. Wanderer. What do you think if you were a wanderer? Like, if you don't have those thousands of different lives, or you didn't jump on the karmic wheel, can you, in your beautiful way of speaking, tell us what wanderers are? Because I think we have a lot of those listening.
Well, and so in wanderers, are you talking about people who just come in without having lots of past lives? Because I know David Wilcock talks about the wanderer, and
from what I understand it's you're here and you may have had thousands of lives, but you never actually hopped on the karmic wheel. Like, you're here to hold space, to elevate, but you agreed. Okay, so in my marconics, it's like I came in, I agreed to the rules, to the laws that govern, but not necessarily karmically. Like you do a lot of work, and you have to be a part of it, but you're not necessarily taking on karma, having to burn it. And I'm not really sure how those laws were put into place, because that doesn't really seem fair to the others.
Well, I think karma, and I'm not a huge, I'm not a scholar of the term wanderer, but the idea about karma, I think, is really, we're shifting out of it. And I think karma is in a religious, what is it, the Hindu religion, where when you do something, there will be karma that you have to deal with in a previous life. And then we've moved in, I guess since 2012, that we have more quick burning off karma, that you get it instantaneously the moment that you have it, or soon thereafter. And I just relate it to the law of attraction. Basically, the energy that you put out, you're going to be matched by the universe. It's going to come back into your experience. Now, I don't want to poo-poo people who resonate with the idea of karma. Utilize it if it helps you. I don't resonate with the idea of karma. I feel like that's a retribution concept that doesn't make sense to me, sort of on a gut level. But ask yourself, when you're going through your life and you're having a reflection on what it is that you're doing, what am I doing here in this life? think about it. Like, what do you want to be doing? How do you want to be going through life? Do you want to be contributing positively to the planet? Do you want to just be building your intellectual awareness through scholarship? Do you want to be just having fun in relationships? Like, everything is okay. Just try to and be true to what it is that you're trying to do. You'll always get a lot of influence from external sources, but your inner discernment is the key to how your life is going to unfold. And if you're off kilter with it, you know your inner truth, but you're denying it, or you're afraid to get to the deeper parts of yourself, I really encourage you to find somebody to help you, or to just have courage, because you, like Abraham always says, you never get it wrong and you never get it done. We are eternal, so there is more to come. So you can just really go for it. You can be brave. You can take risks.
Well, that's your whole thing. Yeah, I know, big balls. That's your whole thing, is that you're, go big, man. But there are some that don't want to go big. That's exhausting, and it just would never occur. And so just honor where you're at.
And that's cool, too. Like, maybe that's going big for them.
I see these kids come in that are 20 years old, setting themselves up as CEO of their own business. I mean, just taking off. Like, the kids hopefully don't have as much filter, or I can't do it. I just see so many young people really starting early, going big.
That can-do attitude.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do too. I love seeing it. Well, and I connecting to what we were talking about with the kids, I really like to just also add a couple of other tools in case parents are wondering what they can do. Going to school, heading into school, how do we prepare for our day? How do we call forth our reality, and how do we teach our children to do it in a way that's fun? And so what I found with my own kids is, when you're in the car going to school, or before they get on the bus, however they go, or if they're homeschooling, however it happens at the beginning of the day, how do you want your day to go? And the kids are very excited. They're like, I want it to go really fast, and I want to absorb everything that the teacher is teaching me. I want to learn everything and release whatever I don't need to know. So just preparing for your day, and grown-ups can do that too as they're heading into the office, Oh, I think the mute just went. Hold on a second. There we go.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Segment intending. Intending your day, putting your intention out there.
Segment intending. Yes. And also, if you don't feel like you're very good at something, just know that you're being assisted, and by setting the intention, you can bring that forth. So, when I was a teenager, I really hated algebra, and whenever I went into an algebra test, I would get so anxious, my tummy would hurt, and I would freeze, and I would do horribly. And so what I would do now is I would ask that inner mathematician to take that test for me. And it does take trust. You have to sort of believe, but if you have nothing to lose and you're probably not going to do well anyway, why not just allow yourself to bring an intention of having the best minds in spirit come into you and support you. Call in Einstein. Why not?
I love that you know, because we've talked about that, where you have a counsel at your disposal. Just call on them and ask them. If you need to cook, call in Julia Childs. If if you're having trouble with your parents, call in, I don't know.
Do you really think that works?
Yes, it works.
I mean, I'm sorry. I don't mean to question you people, but it is, I love that idea.
Yes, I think. Well,
try it with your kids. Try it. My
who am I bringing in?
Doing so well.
Oh, that.
Yeah.
No, okay.
Yeah. Like just, or not necessarily who they're bringing in, but how is your day going when you set your intention? When you set your intention, was your day better than not? My son struggles, and they have this thing where if you do really well, you'll go above the nest. They start in a nest, and then they go above the nest I don't really know how it works, but if he goes above the nest, he's doing really great. If he falls out of the nest, that means that he's had kind of a rough day. And he's been intending every day for the past 3 school days, he's gone above the nest. And that's
And he's done it
setting
every
his
day?
intention to do that. Mm-hmm.
I love that for him.
Sweet Sam.
Yeah.
Sweet Sam.
Sammy.
She's got eyebrows up.
No, I know. I was just thinking.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're getting some.
Well, no, we kind of touched on this before, and I'm talking about myself again. But it is, so I really, we do a lot of alternative healing in our home. We go to Western doctors. We kind of do it together, a leg and a foot in both worlds. And so when my child, one of my kids, it turns out he was pretty ADD or ADHD. He's not, it's the executive functioning. I saw it, and so I had the perfect person ask me. She said, so how do you, or who in your family is ADD? Because it typically runs in families. I'm like, I'm about as ADD as you get. She said, so how do you cope? And it was a real answer and a real response. I mean, like a real question. And I told her that I say yes to nothing. And she looked at me, she said, so your life is small. And I'm thinking, I just got back from Africa. It's not that small. But I got what she was saying. And she's like, oh, Carrie, I'm so sorry. That was so inappropriate. This was at the school, this person at the school. And
what does she mean your life is small?
Well, meaning because I commit to nothing. Not now. This was before. Like I commit to nothing because I get overwhelmed and I don't, like, I like to do what I like to do when I want to do it, not I have this appointment and that appointment. And I mean, the guy was supposed to come yesterday to hang a bunch of lights, and I was like, I don't want to do it today. You know, I want to go do my own thing, and I don't want to sit and wait for this guy. So it very much that, you know, that anyway. So it made, I decided to go get a.
Somebody's sound is back up.
I decided to go talk to a doctor about ADD meds. I know I've been ADD my whole life. I mean, at one point I read a list and I cried because it said if you're like 5 of the 20 of these, and I was 19, and now we know with a lot of research that ADD and anxiety go hand in hand, and so that's my son's, you know, that's my son's inability to cope because you get so overwhelmed. Anyway, so I got on meds, and I only take them when I need them, but it changed my life. It absolutely changed my life, and I was very reluctant to go that route with my kids. And you know, you hear all this stuff, and I have family people that are, you know, just it's a cop out and it's this and it's that. And
you got to be a good metaphysical mom.
No meds, no this,
right,
no that.
Right.
Well, anyway, so my son, he started taking them, and he was on them for a year, and he finally could see the structure, and he got off. He's like, I don't want to be on this, and his grades have stayed really high, and he gets it done, and it's, you know, whatever, and I kind of follow him with that stuff. But I love what you told me, or I don't know, I told you, I don't remember saying this, but how did that conversation go? The one where you're straddling both worlds? Worlds, I mean. Yeah.
So I think it was you received it. So what a lot of you may not know is that Carrie is an amazing channel, and she writes and then channels, and then it just sort of launches into this incredibly clear channeling that she does. And you were channeling this. This is what my recollection of it anyway, and that you had been told that you don't need it, and you won't need it for very much longer, but it's your way of anchoring into the 3D reality. You came with a different executive function. You came with a different wiring because this is the work that you came here to do as a healer, as a visionary, as the person that you are. But this ADD is, it doesn't help you in the regular day-to-day of the 3D, which I'm sure so many people resonate with. It's like, yeah, I have all of these amazing abilities, but I can't pay my bills, or I can't get my butt to work, or whatever.
Right.
You know, sometimes, and that's what we call straddling the worlds, right? Having a foot in both worlds. And so is medication something that's going to help you? Like, don't completely throw it out the window as an option, because maybe it's temporary. You know, just like you're talking with Charlie, right? This was Charlie, right, when he was on meds and he was able to see the structures. That's miraculous.
Yeah.
Like, that is something that is a beautiful thing, and it's of the earth, and we create our own reality, so we can be in alignment with it. I think I reject the idea that just because someone that I've said and respected says this is total crap and you should never do it, don't totally take that on board. Think about it. Does this resonate for me? Because, you know, we talked about the whole breastfeeding thing. Like, I couldn't, my second child, I had issues breastfeeding because I had dislocated my pelvis. And it was, whoa, and I was on pain medication. And so the milk didn't come. And then the midwife was like pissed at me because I had decided to start giving my son formula. And I was heartbroken because I felt like I let her down. And it was like, but I got to feed my son. And I remember having like this crisis of like, I'm not doing the good metaphysical mom, new age mom thing. I'm doing I was selling out somehow. And I just said, you know, after that experience, it's like, I'm not going to do that anymore. Like, I'm not going to throw anyone under the bus. You know, we can't know what other people's experiences are. And we just have to come from a place of compassion and love. If we can, like, try it out. It feels better, honestly.
Yes. Well, and just to add what you were talking about and piggyback on Charlie's story, I know Bashar, I've heard him talk about, you don't need the medication or the marijuana or whatever it is that you're doing. You don't need it to get you. You just need it to give you an idea of what it would feel like to have that healing or that structure or that different mindset. And then you can ask your brain to produce its own chemicals to maintain it, or he's matured into it or something. So just throw it out there. It may be good to help you kind of get outside of your typical brain structure, a medication or something, to help you realize that you can do that on your own.
Well,
right, and you get to trust it. You get to trust the process.
I agree with that. I do agree with that. And we could go down that rabbit hole anyway about the pot. But it is, but I think, I know with me, we've just, this person that just kind of walked into our life, she's incredible. And she just finished 200 and something hours of study on the brain and ADD or ADHD and all of this stuff. And there are parts of your brain that just don't light up. Like it is, I sit down to do a task that I'm not engaged in and my brain goes dark. And then other parts of it start to light up trying to help it. And they were saying that's why, like, I fidget, or people, you know, like kids are always bouncing, is because you're trying to soothe the brain. You're either trying to get it into a state of being engaged, or you're trying to calm it down. And I just think that that's fascinating. And just, anyway, there's so much new research, and there is a chemical that the brain does not produce, and they can now document all of that, which leads me to this. I wonder if this is part of the evolution, whether it's our body's inability to process foods and glutens and that kind of thing, and so that's starting to shut down and go away. I don't know. You kind of look from a broad spectrum at kind of how we're changing. It seems to be happening very quickly.
That's a really good. Yeah, it's a good point, and we are what we're needing is different. Like, people may notice that their diets are changing. My husband became allergic to mammal meat.
Mammal meat. That's such a funny way to say that.
Yeah, I know, beef, pork, and lamb. Totally allergic to it, and it was from a tick bite. But it's like, okay, so he's not supposed to have meat anymore. And now chicken is starting to just, like, not interest him at all. And so, you know, notice these things. Is it a bad thing? Like, is it a curse? Is it something to feel sad about? Or is it like, okay, I'm moving in this direction? And I just wanted to ask, because you seem to get a hit from Eric about bones. Do you want me to say something about bones? Digging bones?
Digging
up bones. That's just a song.
Okay. All right. Well, I can talk about it. It's probably a different storyline.
Because you're an anthropologist, you dig up bones, so there's something there for you.
Bone digger.
Yeah.
I used to. I've dug up. Well, I mean,
and now
to,
you're
like, be proud of it, but
spiritually digging up bones in a good way for investigation, to understand. You know, we're not just digging up stuff to air our dirty laundry and relive past traumas. It's to understand how you lived that life, how you can use that information now and have that bigger perspective. So you are a bone digger.
Yeah.
Well, but that's what I love.
I am. I do like to excavate.
Well, I love your background and why you chose what you chose. And it really all does lead back to the spark of life and where it is and And I think that is. So let's talk about digging up bones.
Well, I mean, I don't know if that's something that is apropos here. Well, we can say that I started out as an archaeologist and now I'm a hypnotherapist and working in the spirit realm. But what I'll say is I had always had a passion to try and find, I didn't even have a way of articulating it. I wanted to find that spark of life, just as you had mentioned. And so I went to a really cool school where you could design your own curriculum, and I had a lot of independent studies where I had one where I was in a morgue with a pathologist doing autopsies, trying to find that spark of life, and that spark of life wasn't there, but it was around me, and it was so intense. I mean, I don't know if any of you have ever seen one. It's brutal. And I knew that the energy of the person who had just passed was around me, and it was so, like, I was like, okay, I guess I had kind of figured out that I wasn't supposed to be working on the physical matter, that it was that energy that felt so elusive in the context of what I understood at the time, and I just had to keep looking. And so for me, Life Between Lives hypnotherapy, working with people's consciousness and their spark of the divine within them, is that for me. That is my passion.
Yeah, cool.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
Do you have time for a couple questions?
So beautiful. I do.
We have
time.
We have a couple questions from. Thank you for everybody who's joining in, and we're just going to say hi to Carrie, Jennifer, and Emma, all our good friends. Okay, so
hi, gals.
Jen is saying
Love
that
ya.
struggling with her husband, and he's had past lives that need to be worked out. He's a good person, but oil and water, he doesn't get her beliefs or her spiritual gifts, not interested, so she's doubting, and it feels like a lot of anger and anxiety. So I'm wondering what, and it's, it's kind of what we're talking about, where people have different gifts and resonate on different levels, and how do we live with that? How do you not absorb whether it's your kid who's having a, big meltdown with anxiety, or your husband who's not believing any of your stuff? How can we work that in where these very close, intimate relationships that are not at the same level?
Okay, first I want to say that last night we were talking about having Charles, my husband, Jan, is very engineer, lawyer brain, it just no interest in finding out what
That spark
happens
of life
when you go toes up. He has no interest, and we live together. Every now and then I really want him to come on to my side and you believe me, and I really want something profound to happen. So he's like, oh my God, my wife is just freaking awesome. And he does say that, but not in this realm. It is not, this just isn't his thing. But what I have come to realize, and I know there are a lot of us that are in, I think most of us are in relationships that are balanced that way, because it seems to be a support. Like I always say, I support him so he can support me. And so I support him in the 3D so he can support me in the 4 or the 5D. And it's not up to me to shove him into this. And he finally one day, and then I'll let Nora, you asked her, not me, but he finally one day, I asked him if he had watched a show, and he said no. And I was just, I was just really upset about it. And he came back and he said, honey, why do you need me to agree with this? Why do you need my approval? And right then, it just let me off the hook. And I thought, that's exactly right. And so as Miss Hutchinson always says, Wendy, she's like, we're on the same track, but we're in our own, I'm in this lane, he's in that one, and he supports me and I support him, but he doesn't necessarily have to agree with everything I do. So there you go.
Yeah, how's your hubby with all this?
He's very metaphysically oriented. We're right on the same page, which is amazing.
That is.
It's totally amazing, but there are a couple of things that first I'd like to address, Jen. One is do you feel like your husband needs to come on board? And that's what Carrie was talking about, because can you be okay just having your experience and having the relationship evolve and have him be who he is? Because that's one of the things that we can do in relationships, is we can trust that the relationship is important to us and that it's serving us in some way. And I think it's very common in our society for people to feel like, well, I have to change my partner. If I'm changing, they have to change. But maybe your changing has also a profound effect on them, and maybe there's a way of creating balance, a new balance as you evolve. If you're not getting support from him, seek support outward by girlfriends or other people who are going through it. Our partners don't have to be our everything. They can be our partners, and we can love them, and they can grow, but they don't have to be our everything. So I just want to make sure you're not putting a lot of pressure on the relationship to bear the weight of something that you can actually manage on your own, that you can totally stand in your own personal sovereignty and do that. And another thing, too, is everybody is going to come along in their own way. And what your husband is going through may not look like what you're going through. And to learn how to honor that in a way that is also holding the space for him can be very freeing for both of you. And as Abraham likes to say, set the intention for what you want to see in your relationship. If you're doing your stuff and you're setting the intention for, I want to have a loving, caring relationship where my husband hears me and is supportive, and let it just sort of be out in the ethers and watch how that comes into play, because you obviously love each other or you wouldn't be together, and allow that love to reveal itself to you. You don't have to work it in order to make it happen. Allow yourself to come forward with your integrity and hold the space for him to reveal himself, and I hope that helps.
That's beautiful.
That's beautiful, Ms.
She
Nora.
was saying, that's exactly what he says. He doesn't need to agree or believe what I do. So she's confirming that. And I'll just throw one more thing in there. My husband does his thing with finance and business, and I do my thing with the metaphysical and spiritual, but we always find ways to come together, whether it's, we go out dancing together, or it's great food or movies. We find that common area that we both love. And he'll hear about what I do. I hear about what he does. We don't have to all get into it and agree with it. But we have developed a beautiful middle ground that we both like to play in together, that's common, and go there weekly. Date night.
That's so good. We all are in relationships with men that we love, and it's all different.
So last night, really, I turned to my hubs and I said, "Hey, you want to come on the show tomorrow?" And he looks at me like, "Really, honey?" I said, "Well, if Jeff comes
my
on,
husband does it, will you do it?"
He didn't say no.
He didn't say no. Well, Jan is just saying thank you for the kind words. She can be separate. I want him to share the wonderful things with me. I'm putting too much pressure on him. I know when you start seeing all this cool stuff, you're like, how can you not be interested in this? This is amazing. It's miraculous. We just have a couple minutes left, Nora. This has gone by so fast.
Yeah, I know. I love you guys. So I said we all have loving relationships with men. No, we don't. I mean the three of us.
Yeah.
No, I know. I was going to say that. Women too.
Yeah, women too. But I think it's about, I think that's what life is about. It's about cherishing your relationships and really honoring them wherever they're at. I mean, I think that's a part of our evolution as a species, is learning how to do that with integrity, and also loving ourselves enough to really just be who we came here to be, and find that out if we don't know yet.
I love that. We've all got our own special sauce.
Our own special sauce.
We all have our special sauce.
And sometimes
and
it's
you can
bigger. Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was just going to say that you can find me on The Experience. I also have a little show, and we talk about these kinds of matters too, and we talk from the perspective of the person who's having the experience. And
on YouTube.
Yeah, call me anytime. Yeah, it's on YouTube. Nora Yolles Young, The Experience, and come spring, I'll have my book out.
Yes, she will.
Yeah, okay, well, we'll have you back, if not before then,
she'll
to
be
tell
back
us all about your book.
Yes, and by the way, guys, all of our stuff is on YouTube, and it's on, not all of it, but about half of the shows. When we started doing video, we hopped onto YouTube. So you'll find this show and all of the links to everything and all of our previous shows. So come on over.
Yeah, it's good stuff. And I'm hoping to snag the videos that I'm on your show with and put it on my YouTube. And I wanted to just say the name of my book. It's called Navigating Your Awakening, The Art of Being Human in Today's World. And I'm really excited to have it out.
Almost
We're getting
there.
close.
Well, we all need that,
Yeah.
especially in these crazy turbulent times. Thank you for joining us on JoyRide, and have a great holiday, however you celebrate. We love you. We thank you, and we'll see you next week on another JoyRide. Thank you, Nora.
Thanks, guys. Bye,
Thanks.
Nora.
Bye, dear.
Love ya.
Love you.